The morning sun stretched across the quiet streets of Ashford, a peaceful town where everyone seemed to know everyone else's story. Cars rolled past small cafes. Children laughed outside bakeries, and workers hurried toward their jobs. It looked like an ordinary day, but before sunset, one simple act of kindness would change several lives forever. Ethan Carter wiped the grease from his hands with an old blue rag. His repair shop was small. The faded sign above the garage simply read, Carter Auto Repair. Most people drove past it without giving it a second glance. Some assumed the shop wasn't successful because it looked old, but appearances often lied. Ethan was 38. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't famous. He was simply a hard-working mechanic raising his 14-year-old daughter, Lily, by himself. Every dollar mattered. Every customer mattered. Every day was another chance to keep moving forward. Lily arrived after school each afternoon. She finished homework inside the tiny office before helping organize tools. The regular customers adored her. She greeted everyone with a smile. She reminded Ethan why he never gave up. Morning, Dad. Lily hugged him tightly. Morning, Princess. Busy today? I hope so. She smiled. I packed your lunch. You always think ahead. I learned from you. Their conversation was interrupted by an expensive sports car pulling into the garage. The driver stepped out wearing an expensive watch and designer sunglasses. He looked around with visible disappointment. You actually fix cars here? Ethan smiled politely. We do our best. The man laughed. I should have gone somewhere better. Ethan ignored the comment. What seems to be the problem? The customer tossed the keys across the counter. It makes a strange sound. Ethan caught the keys before they fell. I'll inspect it. Hurry up. Several customers waiting nearby exchanged uncomfortable glances. They didn't appreciate the man's attitude. But Ethan remained calm. Years of experience had taught him that arguing never fixed engines. After 15 minutes, Ethan returned. The belt tensioner is failing. The man frowned. That's it. Yes. You sure? I am. The customer rolled his eyes. I expected someone at a place like this would know much. Ethan simply nodded. I'll replace it if you like. 40 minutes later, the engine purred smoothly. The customer tested it. His expression changed. It actually works. It should. Without saying thank you, the man paid and drove away. One elderly customer shook his head. Some people think money buys manners. Ethan smiled. We can't control people. We can only control ourselves. By midday, the garage became quieter. Only a few vehicles remained. Lily organized invoices, while Ethan cleaned his workbench. Everything felt peaceful, until someone came running. A teenage girl hurried toward the garage. She looked around 16 years old. She wore a school uniform. Her eyes were red. Tears streamed down her face. She looked completely overwhelmed. Please. She struggled to catch her breath. My tire. She pointed toward a small, silver hatchback parked along the roadside. It's flat. Ethan immediately walked outside. The rear tire had been punctured by a long metal screw. The girl looked ready to cry again. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. Take a deep breath. I'm late. I know. My phone battery died. That's okay. I can't call anyone. We'll figure it out. She introduced herself. My name's Sophie. I'm Ethan. She forced a weak smile. Before Ethan could grab his tools, a luxury SUV slowed beside the road. The driver lowered his window. He looked toward Ethan and laughed. Still running that tiny garage? Several people turned. Apparently, he knew Ethan. The driver parked nearby and stepped out. He wore an expensive business suit. A polished smile spread across his face. Funny, you used to dream big. And now, he glanced around dramatically. You're fixing bicycles next? Several people chuckled awkwardly. Ethan recognized him instantly. Nathan Brooks, an old classmate. Years earlier, Nathan constantly mocked students whose families struggled financially. Time hadn't changed him much. Nathan looked toward Sophie, waiting for roadside assistance. She quietly nodded. He smirked. You'll be waiting a while. Then he looked at Ethan. You charging her full price? No. Nathan laughed. Of course not. You're probably desperate for customers. Lily frowned. Dad. Ethan gently shook his head. Everything about his expression remained calm. Nathan crossed his arms. You always were too soft. You'll never become successful helping people for free. Ethan picked up his jack and tire tools. Without raising his voice, he answered, Maybe, but people remember kindness much longer than prices. Nathan laughed loudly. Kindness doesn't build businesses. Several customers exchanged silent looks. One elderly woman whispered, I disagree. Sophie stood quietly. She looked embarrassed. I'm sorry. This is because of me. Ethan smiled warmly. No, this isn't your fault. Let's get you back on the road. He carefully removed the damaged tire. As he worked, he noticed Sophie watching every movement. You've never changed one before? She shook her head. No, come here. She hesitated. It's okay. I'll teach you. He explained every step. How to position the jack. How to loosen the wheel nuts. Why safety mattered. How to check tire pressure. She listened carefully. Nathan laughed again. A free lesson? You really have too much spare time. Ethan ignored him. Within minutes, the spare tire was installed. Everything was tightened properly. Sophie looked relieved. I can't thank you enough. How much do I owe you? Ethan smiled. Nothing. Her eyes widened. No. I insist. You can repay me someday. Help someone else when they need it. She stared silently. Those words clearly stayed with her. Nathan shook his head. That's exactly why you'll always stay poor. The garage became completely silent. Even passing pedestrians slowed down. Everyone waited for Ethan's response. Instead, he simply smiled. I hope you have a good day. Nathan laughed one last time before driving away. His expensive SUV disappeared around the corner. Sophie looked at Ethan. I've never seen someone stay that calm. He shrugged. Anger usually costs more than patience. She smiled for the first time. A genuine smile, one that reached her eyes. Before leaving, she looked back. I won't forget this. Ethan waved. Drive safely. Lily watched the small hatchback disappear. I think she'll remember today forever. Ethan nodded. Maybe. Then he returned to work. He believed the day was over. He had no idea that less than 24 hours later, one unexpected phone call would leave the entire garage speechless. The next morning arrived bright and clear. Golden sunlight reflected across the windows of Carter Auto Repair. Ethan unlocked the garage before 8. Like every day, he swept the floor, arranged the tools, and checked the day's appointments. To him, it felt like another ordinary morning. He couldn't have been more wrong. Lily walked into the garage carrying 2 paper cups. Coffee for you. And hot chocolate for me. Ethan smiled. Best assistant in town. She laughed. I'm your only assistant. Several regular customers soon arrived. Mr. Harris needed an oil change. Mrs. Collins wanted her brakes inspected. A delivery driver complained about strange engine noises. The garage slowly filled with familiar conversations. Around 10 o'clock, the office phone rang. Lily answered. Carter Auto Repair, how may I help you? She listened quietly. Her expression slowly changed. Then she covered the receiver. Dad. The caller wants to speak with you. Ethan picked up the phone. This is Ethan. A calm woman's voice replied. Good morning, Mr. Carter. My name is Victoria Langford. I believe you helped my daughter yesterday. Ethan immediately remembered. Sophie. Yes. She told me everything. He smiled. I'm glad she made it home safely. There was a brief silence. Then Victoria spoke again. I'd like to thank you personally. There really isn't any need. I insist. My office is nearby today. Would you allow me to visit your garage? Ethan hesitated. If you're coming just to thank me, I am. But not only for that. About 30 minutes later, a sleek black luxury sedan slowly entered the parking area. It was followed by another elegant vehicle. Several nearby shop owners looked outside. People whispered to each other. A professionally dressed woman stepped out. She carried herself with quiet confidence. Not flashy, not dramatic, simply graceful. Sophie stepped out behind her. This time she wasn't crying. She smiled the moment she saw Ethan. "Good morning." "Morning, Sophie. I'm happy to see you smiling." "Thanks to you." Victoria extended her hand. "Mr. Carter." "Ethan is fine. It's a pleasure." She looked around the garage. The building was modest. The equipment was older. Everything was spotless. Every tool had its place. "You take great pride in your work." "I try. It shows." Lily came over politely. "Hello." Victoria smiled warmly. "You must be Lily." "I am. Sophie told me about you, too." The two girls immediately started talking. Within minutes, they were laughing together, like old friends. Ethan quietly smiled. Victoria turned back toward Ethan. Sophie was terrified yesterday. She'd never dealt with a flat tire before. "I noticed, but she learned quickly." Victoria nodded. "That's exactly what surprised me." Sophie said, "You didn't just fix her car. You taught her. You encouraged her. And you refused payment." Ethan shrugged. "It wasn't a big job." Victoria looked directly at him. "To you, maybe. To my daughter, it meant everything." Sophie lowered her head. "I felt helpless. I thought everyone would laugh at me. But you didn't. You treated me like I mattered." The garage became quiet. Even the customers nearby stopped talking. Victoria reached into her handbag. She removed an envelope. "I'd like you to accept this." Ethan gently pushed it back. "I'm sorry. I can't. It's only a thank you gift." "I appreciate the thought. But no." Victoria looked surprised. "You're refusing?" "I helped because someone needed help. Not because I expected anything." She slowly smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." Instead of looking disappointed, she looked impressed. Very impressed. Just then, a familiar voice interrupted. Well. Everyone turned. Nathan Brooks had returned. He stepped out of his expensive SUV, wearing another tailored suit. His confident grin appeared the moment he saw Ethan. "I heard something interesting." He looked toward Victoria. "Careful. This mechanic likes pretending to be a hero." The garage became silent. Nathan continued talking. "You know, he fixes cars for free. He'll never run a real business. He refuses easy money." Victoria calmly looked at Nathan. "And?" Nathan seemed confused. "And he lacks ambition. He'll always stay exactly where he is." Victoria smiled politely. "I disagree." Nathan laughed. "Of course you do." She folded her arms. "I've spent 25 years building companies. I've met thousands of people. Do you know what I've learned?" Nathan shrugged. "What?" "Skills can be taught. Machines can be replaced. Money comes and goes. But integrity—" She paused. "Integrity is rare." Nathan's smile faded slightly. Victoria continued. "My daughter came home yesterday. She didn't spend 20 minutes talking about her flat tire. She talked about a mechanic who treated her with respect, a stranger who believed in her." Nathan looked uncomfortable. Victoria wasn't finished. "That's worth more than expensive advertising." Several customers quietly nodded. One whispered, "She's absolutely right." Nathan tried to laugh. "It's just a tire." Sophie stepped forward. "No, it wasn't. I was scared. I thought everyone would think I was stupid. Mr. Carter didn't. He believed I could learn." Nathan glanced around. For the first time, no one was agreeing with him. Victoria smiled at Ethan. "I'd like to ask you something." "Go ahead." "My family owns several companies." Nathan suddenly looked interested. Victoria continued calmly. "We also operate a driving education charity for teenagers. We've been searching for someone who understands people, not just vehicles." Ethan looked confused. "I'm not sure I understand." "I'd like you to become an instructor for our weekend safety program. You teach young drivers basic vehicle knowledge, how to change a tire, how to stay calm, how to solve problems. Ethan blinked. Me? Yes. Nathan burst into laughter. This should be good. A tiny garage mechanic teaching future business leaders? Victoria looked directly at him. Exactly. Because yesterday, he taught my daughter something money never could. Nathan suddenly stopped smiling. Ethan thought carefully. I'm honored, but my garage keeps me busy. Victoria nodded. I expected that answer. So here's another idea. You choose a schedule. One Saturday each month. No pressure. Lily smiled proudly. Dad, you should do it. Sophie nodded. So other teenagers can learn what you taught me. Ethan finally smiled. I'd be happy to help. Victoria shook his hand. Wonderful. Nathan quietly looked away. He had expected Ethan to be ignored. Instead, he had just watched complete strangers place their trust in him. Before leaving, Victoria turned around once more. Oh, I almost forgot. Our foundation is holding its annual community appreciation event tomorrow afternoon. I'd like you and Lily to attend as our personal guests. Ethan smiled politely. That's very kind. It isn't kindness, Victoria replied. It's recognition. The luxury cars slowly drove away. The parking lot became quiet once again. Mr. Harris looked at Ethan. You know, I think your life is about to change. Ethan laughed softly. I doubt it. Across the street, Nathan stood beside his SUV, watching, thinking. For the first time in years, he wasn't feeling confident, because something about Victoria's words kept echoing in his mind. Integrity is rare. He dismissed the feeling and drove away, completely unaware that tomorrow's community event would reveal a connection no one, including Ethan, could have predicted. The following afternoon, the community appreciation event was held in the town square. Bright banners decorated the entrance. Local families gathered around food stalls. Children enjoyed games. Small business owners displayed their work. The atmosphere was cheerful. Ethan almost didn't attend. He wasn't comfortable at formal events. But Lily convinced him. You promised. I know. And besides, you deserve a day off. He smiled. All right. They arrived wearing simple clothes. Nothing expensive, nothing flashy, just themselves. As they entered, several volunteers greeted them warmly. Welcome, Mr. Carter. Ethan looked surprised. They know your name. Lily whispered with a smile. Victoria spotted them from across the square. She walked over with Sophie. I'm so glad you came. So are we. Victoria personally introduced Ethan to local teachers, firefighters, paramedics, charity volunteers, and dozens of business owners. Everyone shook his hand. Everyone had heard Sophie's story. One businessman smiled. My son is learning to drive. I hope he meets someone like you. Another added, the town needs more people with your values. Ethan felt embarrassed by the attention. I only changed a tire. Victoria smiled. No, you changed someone's confidence. That's much harder. A stage had been set in the center of the square. After lunch, the host stepped to the microphone. Thank you all for joining today's community appreciation celebration. Applause filled the air. The host continued. Every year, we recognize someone whose actions remind us that kindness still matters. Nathan Brooks stood near the front. He adjusted his expensive jacket. He quietly smiled. He assumed the award would go to one of the event's major sponsors. After all, his company had donated a large amount. The host continued speaking. This year's recipient never asked for recognition. They simply helped someone because it was the right thing to do. Victoria stepped onto the stage. She looked across the crowd. Then she smiled. Mr. Ethan Carter, would you please join me? The audience applauded. Lily's eyes widened. Dad, go. Ethan slowly walked to the stage. He looked completely overwhelmed. I think there's been a mistake. Victoria smiled. There hasn't. She turned toward the audience. Yesterday morning, my daughter experienced a flat tire. She was frightened. Her phone battery had died. She believed she was alone. One man didn't see inconvenience. He saw someone who needed help. He repaired the tire. He refused payment. He taught her how to solve the problem herself. And he reminded her that kindness creates confidence. The crowd applauded again. Several people stood. Nathan remained frozen. Victoria continued. My companies invest in buildings, technology, and new ideas. But the strongest investment we can ever make is in people. She looked at Ethan. That's exactly what you did. The applause became even louder. Lily couldn't stop smiling. Tears filled her eyes. Victoria handed Ethan a small glass award. It simply read, Community Heart Award. Nothing more. Nothing less. Ethan looked at the audience. I've never given a speech before. The crowd laughed kindly. He took a deep breath. My father taught me something when I was young. He used to say, if you have the ability to make someone's day easier, you already have enough. I've tried to live by that. I don't believe kindness makes anyone weaker. I think it makes communities stronger. The audience applauded once more. Several people wiped away tears. As Ethan stepped down, Victoria stopped him. I have one more surprise. She pointed toward a large screen. Photos began appearing. The first showed Carter Auto Repair. The second showed Ethan teaching Sophie to change the tire. The third showed Lily helping customers. Then another image appeared. It showed Ethan's late father standing proudly beside the same garage. Many years earlier, Ethan stopped walking. He stared silently. Victoria noticed his expression. My research team found the story behind your garage. 30 years ago, your father repaired cars for nurses, teachers, delivery drivers, and elderly neighbors who couldn't afford repairs. He never advertised. People simply trusted him. Victoria smiled warmly. Yesterday, I realized something. Your kindness was an accident. It became a family tradition. Ethan quietly looked toward the sky. For a moment, he couldn't speak. Lily gently held his hand. He'd be proud of you. The crowd applauded again, even louder than before. Nathan stood silently at the edge of the audience. Everything he believed about success suddenly felt incomplete. Money had earned him attention, but Ethan had earned respect. The difference was impossible to ignore. Nathan slowly walked toward Ethan. People watched quietly. No one knew what he would say. He stopped a few feet away. I owe you an apology. The square became completely silent. I laughed at you. I judged your garage. I judged your life. I thought success was measured by expensive cars and impressive offices. I was wrong. Ethan smiled gently. We all keep learning. Nathan nodded. I suppose we do. He extended his hand. This time, I'm not shaking your hand because everyone is watching. I'm doing it because you've earned my respect. Ethan shook his hand. No hard feelings. The crowd applauded once again. Later that afternoon, families gathered around. Carter Auto Repair's information booth. Teenagers signed up for Ethan's monthly vehicle safety workshops. Parents thanked him. Local schools asked him to speak to students. The little garage suddenly became one of the town's proudest landmarks. Over the following months, nothing about Ethan's character changed. He still opened the garage before sunrise. He still greeted every customer with the same smile. He still charged fair prices. And he still helped people whenever he could. The only difference, more people now understood what had always made Carter Auto Repair special. It wasn't the building. It wasn't the equipment. It wasn't the size of the business. It was the man inside it. One afternoon, Sophie and Lily placed a small wooden sign near the garage entrance. It contained only 8 words. Kindness is always part of every repair. Customers smiled every time they read it. From that day forward, whenever someone asked Victoria why she trusted a small-town mechanic, she always gave the same answer. I didn't find the best mechanic. I found one of the best people. And in the end, the billionaire never changed Ethan's life with money. She changed it by showing the entire town what true success had looked like all along.